Ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. That's how we do it.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's a brand new day.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Science! Now prepare to experience the most outrageous man on radio.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning.
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
The station for more fun in the sun.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Here we are again. Saturday, the 30th. It's the last day of April, and it's going out like a lion. I'm upset with this. I'm upset with my headphones, not the hat. The hat's kind of really cool when you don't have headphones. So don't judge this hat. I tried it like having the headphones underneath. I have some old Apple iPhone headphones here, but they've got that that extra jack thing, it's not really a 1/8 inch audio jack. It's got an extra thing so you can control stuff and talk on the phone and all that crap. Anyway,
Weekend weather.
let's take a quick look at the weekend weather. Currently in my neck of the woods, as I always say, it's 39 degrees. It's going to hit 37 before sunrise. Sunrise is 6:16 here. Okay, 6:16 a.m. Currently it's 5:08 a.m. As I said, on the 30th of April in the calendar year 2022 in the former United States. And believe me. It's looking like it's going to get up to 62 degrees today, but it's supposed to be cloudy. That's unfortunate. I might have to go for a walk somewhere if I can't sit out in the sun, You can't tell by the my face, and I don't know if I can, do anything here to bring up to give you the idea. Let's see here. A little saturation. I don't know if that's going to do anything. No. But yeah, I kind of got some coloring yesterday. I was out in the sun for a little while. But yeah, 52 overnight, that's not bad. There was a freeze yesterday morning when I went out, and my cilantro plants, which I had taken out of those plastic containers that I showed you yesterday, actually were like dark green and looked like they froze. But yesterday in the sun, they just jumped back to life. So just for safety's sake, I covered everything last night again. However, this is we'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Tomorrow it's going to be 64 degrees, 54 overnight, but it's probably going to rain. Monday, 63, 48 overnight. Tuesday, thunderstorms, probably rain, maybe some sun. 72 degrees, 59, could be 60 degrees overnight. It's going to be like a muggy night, rainy, muggy. Because Wednesday is a 70% chance of rain. That means it could just start raining Tuesday night and just into Wednesday. 63 degrees and 45 for the low. We're pretty much there. I haven't looked at the 10-day forecast, but they base that on records. Anyway, it's not based on, they can't project the weather anymore. In other words, as our technology improves, as our school systems have more resources, as there are more and more people graduating with meteorologists, as meteorologists with meteorology degrees, and even PhDs for all that matter, the quality of the predictions have gone way down. It's counterintuitive, I know, but you know it too. All you have to do is be somebody that watches the weather forecast, and it's like wrong most of the time. As always, I try to follow up on something I touched on the previous day. I was talking about my volunteer plants and volunteer things. And so these are my sage plants, which you can see how thick the stems from last year. These plants grew wild. But you can see they're coming back to life. Those are all sage leaves. So, yeah. And they had no problem with the frost whatsoever. I took that picture yesterday. That's yesterday's picture. Anyway, that's that. The grow room. And the show title is Health and Happiness in Real Life, IRL. The morning show with Tony Caravan. And we've got this woman. This is a stock photo I purchased when I had the agency. We were using for some. We ended up not using it for some. For some beauty, product or some kind. I think it was Actually, I think it was for a company that was doing some kind of laser or something or other, something along those lines. But my face next to her perfect complexion, particularly with this kicking up the saturation on this photo, really is like kind of, well, my vanity's showing. I think I'm going to kick my face back a little bit. I don't know if that helps or not, but yeah, she looks pretty good. But anyway, we're going to get into that. The title of this show is When the Music Stops, Will You Have a Chair? And I put a chat in there. It's winding down pretty fast. I put 75% cacao in my coffee today, but what I should have done is put some pure vanilla extract in it because it's kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. Like dry, because that's what the cacao chocolate is. It's like dry without the sugar. I'm half tempted to run into the other room, but the way I'm wired with sound, and I'm not sure if it would work by putting a drop of that stuff, pure extract in there. It should have been done at the process. Anyway, I had a pretty good night's sleep, even though I kind of still look a little bit, worse for wear. But I felt pretty good waking up. I didn't hop right out of bed. I gradually kind of laid there, contemplated things, and was thinking about what I would talk about today on today's show. And that's how all this stuff has basically come together. And the idea here is, and I don't know if I'll keep this girl's face up all day long, all show long. But just for a while, just till we get into this kind of thing. I was saying before, we did have frost yesterday, but it didn't last long, and there was no damage to anything in my backyard, even though it appeared there would be. The rodent is still there, but I've, as usual, shored up a few things, and I hung out in my yard for a while and got some sun. I was out there for a couple hours. And the rodent won't come in. No rodent, not even a chipmunk will come in the yard while a human's in there. I mean, there was a time when I had a chipmunk that was kind of friendly. I used to feed him peanuts, and he'd come pretty much right up to me. There's a video of that I've talked about before. It's still up on my website or on my YouTube channel. But, the animals, I was saying that there's something about humans and animals. It's like, I don't know if I was saying it on this show or telling somebody on the phone. There's a lot of people just aren't as open and friendly as they used to be. And I don't know, you can't blame that on the pandemic, when it affects animals too. So it's almost maybe something with the magnetic field, what's going on with the sun, the cycles, and all this kind of stuff. There's just crazy stuff going on. Anyway, that's that. So the birds had a blast yesterday because they were just chirping away, playing, getting to eat their food without being interrupted by some rodent. I fixed the fountain the flow of the fountain shooting up. So they were in there taking baths, drinking water, and had that sound on. I had my speakers on. I was listening to some classical music, just because it just seemed right, real low. So it was a whole mellow, meditational, relaxing. The sky was like what they call robin's egg blue, and the sun, while it was, if you stood in the shade, it was like in the high 50s, maybe, or something like that, maybe 60 at best. In the sun where I was on my chair, it felt like it was like high 70s, you know. And when I came in, took a shower, I mean, my face and parts of my skin that were exposed to the sun were red, were red. Well, I didn't have a burn, but I mean, it was like color, definitely distinctively sun, So I got my vitamin D, and those receptors opened up, and I felt good. Had a good healthy salad yesterday, and here I am. And health and happiness is the theme in real life. And that's what I want to talk about today. I mean, can you really have health and happiness? And something happened to my camera. It got knocked over. The cat must have done that. In the middle of the night, he's getting a little more, he's feeling a little bit better, it seems. So I just noticed that. I don't know if I got it in the exact right position, but at least we'll be able to see if a truck goes by. Anyway, that's that. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of a big topic, and I hopefully my mind will be clear enough to remember all the things while I was lying back in bed in this totally relaxed mode. To all the things I wanted to talk about. For those of you who are not unaware,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
yeah, that's me. This is the ROCKFLUX channel. I may be on Odyssey, Odyssee, though I had like kind of a weird run-in with them. And I have to explain that in case somebody from there would be listening. And what happened was, they're kind of like, I have my videos on Rumble. They're a day late. And they have a thing similar to Rumble, is that what you can, you set up, you go through a settings, and they'll pull your videos from YouTube, and then they'll place them on their website. All right. So that you can go to Odyssey and watch my shows. Now, usually it would be a day late, in the case of this live one, unless I do something there. I haven't really explored their site completely. But when I signed up to set up an @ROCKFLUX site there, they said, yeah, great, congratulations, you set up a channel, blah, blah, blah. But we can't do this thing by bring your videos over because you don't have 300 subs. And so, I'm like, man, that sounds, I said, the reason I don't have 300 subs is because I'm being choked on YouTube. And the only reason I've continued to use YouTube is because I'm doing the live thing, and I didn't want to spend 6 hours a day producing videos the way I used to, because they were basically productions, short films. And 2-hour films. They weren't shorts, actually. So, yeah, so I was annoyed. It said, sorry, we can't bend the rules for you. And it's like not like I was really asking to bend the rules. I was trying to explain. I'm saying they're shadow banning me. They're choking me. You know, they're doing all this stuff. It's starting to get out of control. They're cutting my show short. They're cutting it, segments of it out midstream, literally. And so I went on Twitter. I put in a thing, I complained on Twitter. I still have a couple thousand followers on my Twitter account, even though I don't use it. But I figure, I don't know, Musk is there. Twitter's probably got an increase in visibility now. But then when I came back to my email, I noticed that someone over at Odyssey had said, sorry, we'll do it. We'll check. And so then I did do a follow-up on Twitter with quoting what they said that they would do it. And I said, well, we'll wait and see what happens. So assuming that Odyssey has done what they said they were going to do, move my videos on, I apologize for, giving you a negative, tweet at first, but if you do notice, I did follow up and acknowledge that you had a change of heart or whatever. But you have to remember, you were the one, Odyssey, someone at Odyssey first was being like kind of snotty with me. Like, sorry, no, can't do it, Anyway, that's that. I like Odyssey and I think it's a neat thing and I want to be a part of it. And hopefully, this back and forth misunderstanding thing will work its way out and everybody will be happy in the end. I didn't really know Odyssey even existed, to be honest with you. I've been on Rumble. I was on BitChute years ago, and I used to get bigger numbers on BitChute, but it was a matter of, you had to upload. It wasn't an automatic upload type of thing. And like I say, who has the time to wait, to spend an hour uploading a video? Because sometimes that's what they do. The upload, it's the ISPs or somehow YouTube. I don't know. The whole thing is just crazy. So that's that. And I'm going to take the morning show, Tony Caravan, Health and Happiness Girl, down for a second. I think she's distracting from the... Well, she is nice, though. She might be a little bit too distracting for right now, for this discussion. Let's just get into the discussion, and then we'll bring her back from time to time. All right. I feel better. Yesterday I had this nasal thing, and like usual, like I say, if you eat super healthy and you get sunshine, these hats are great, like I say, and they look even better if you don't have headphones shoved underneath them. It is that real Gilligan's Island hat. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale. So, yeah, coffee, 75% cacao, good for the digestive tract, supposedly. They contain choline, which helps create. I know you're not going to want to hear this word bile, but I mean it's good for the flow of everything through your body. All right, so and I use the word IRL intentionally because it's not I don't normally use those abbreviations, right? But it's like, some of these people who are on YouTube and, the people that are heavy into using that stuff. And I noticed there's this one, and I have often talked about this Tim Pool guy. It's like has Tim Pool IRL, right? Now, you're not IRL, man. It's not Tim Pool in real life. It's Tim Pool on social media, digital, in the cloud, on video. And this health and happiness thing, the thing I was trying to say, what's missing from society, and really, I think the only way things are really going to change for the better are when we start getting back to being physically together. I mean, it's like this imitation of life thing has to be like nipped in the bud. I mean, the bud's already blossomed, I guess, into a tree in many places. But I mean, there's an opportunity here with each generation or with each day, or like I always say, you could always reinvent yourself any moment of the day. Once you're over a certain age, as long as you don't have kids like, cliques in grade school or junior high or something, that they could be cruel and they could like pigeonhole you into something. But I mean, once you're an adult, you could reinvent yourself anytime you want to, in any number of ways. By the way you look, the way you talk, what you do. You could change jobs, you could change cities, you could change, rearrange the furniture in your living room or bedroom, paint a wall, grow a garden. You could just change, you could reinvent yourself and be whatever, right? So, our lives are malleable, and we're in charge of that, not the state, not the corporatocracy. Okay. And sometimes, like, a lot of people don't talk about that. Like, they don't. I know this is like basic, and there might be some people out there, well, yeah, duh. Like, we didn't know that. Yeah, well, if you know that, you don't have to watch this video. But I mean, for me, actually, I would watch a guy like this talking, because even knowing this kind of thing, it's good to hear, and it's refreshing to hear this. And and everyone has their own insight, and there might be just a nugget of something to glean from this that will further expand your mind or the way you approach life and thinking, and ultimately achieve that, happiness. Because that's what life's all about. When you look at this, existence we have. I mean, the best that we have is happiness. And the only reason you would want to preserve your health is so that you could enjoy that happiness to the fullest. In other words, really enjoy it in a day, in the moment, but enjoy it for as long as possible until you cease to exist on this, plane of existence, right? This density, this planet, this, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's all about happiness. That's it. Happiness. Simple, one word. And happiness in real life can only be achieved in real life, because everything else is an imitation of life. It's what, that's what, it's like, that's why they call it, augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. But no one really takes it to the level as I do, which says imitation of life. Because that's what all those things are. They're an imitation of life. And so, how do you achieve happiness, is this question. And it's different for, different people. What makes one person happy isn't going to not necessarily make another person happy. But our goal should be happiness. And I think the founding fathers of this former United States had that in mind when they said the pursuit of happiness, the freedom, life, liberty, freedom, the freedom and of the pursuit of happiness is what they were trying to say. I mean, the life thing is you got a right to live. Don't take my life away, But I mean, it's freedom and happiness is what we're talking about. And whether or not you look at it in terms of that, phrase, several 100-year-old phrase, or you just consolidate it down to happiness. But you could be momentarily happy watching a movie or something that's entertaining, or passing the time using some kind of technology, texting with some friends or participating in some group Zoom session or FaceTime, or whatever. There's so many of them now. Making videos, watching videos, and things of that nature. But well, you don't have to do anything. I was about to say you have to. You don't have to do anything, but to really experience happiness and to find true happiness, you're going to have to step out into the real world. And the real world isn't showing somebody something on TikTok or, these various, Instagram and, I don't know. This social media sphere is just such a, an overwhelming imitation of life. And yes, I use it. All right. But I use it not, for happiness. I use it as the tool portion of how it functions as a tool. For example, that picture, this photo, wherever it is, I posted also on my Instagram page, which there's a link on my ROCKFLUX channel to it. I think it's at Tony Caravan Live now or something like that. I forget. But yeah, I used it as a tool. And so I shared it there because I have my Instagram page is just primarily a garden. It's kind of a garden logbook. I keep this thing here, which is my garden record. I usually get 2 years of garden notes in here of the weather and when I planted a thing and stuff, so I could keep track of stuff. It's a handy little thing. And then I also use Instagram so I could go back and look at photos and see. So in here I have the words in this handy little book. I could jot things down and refer to. And then I could actually go look at the photo and see where I was 3 years ago and look at my tomatoes, my squash, my sage plants. This is interesting looking at that sage to see how it's come back. People burn sage to cleanse their aura and to cleanse a room and things like that. But some of those sticks are like, look at that one, how thick it is, like it towards the front. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing grows out, by the way. I don't want to this isn't a story about sage. But, for me, that is happiness. My garden and the sun and a blue sky day makes me happy. Listening to music, that kind of thing. Being in the real world. I could be happier, of course, if I had a sense of community, which I really don't have. Now, because I live alone with a cat, and as you know, people who follow the show, my cat has been up and down health-wise, this, that, the other. He seems to be doing semi-okay right now. I gave him some cat food out of a can this morning, just as is, and trying to get him to put on some weight because he really did lose weight, lost a lot of weight. But he appears to be doing better. I can taste a little bit of the chocolate in there now. So I don't want to be critical of these people, that feel as if, because this is not Tony Caravan Live IRL. This is me on a video that you're watching. on a TV screen or a computer screen or tablet or whatever you've got. Hopefully not on a smartphone, because with all this text and these things I throw up there, I mean, it's so tiny. It just defeats the whole concept of how I've designed this thing. But to each their own. But it's not me in real life. And me in real life is you knocking on the door, coming in and saying, hey, come on in. You know, if you're a beer drinker or whatever or something like that, come on down, sit at the bar. You want a non-alcoholic beverage? I have some ginger beer in there. You know, sit down, you know, and listen to what's your favorite music, put on some music, or go out into the backyard, sit on a couple lawn chairs, soak up some sun, and, you know, and have a conversation, right? People living in the real world. That's the real world. That's IRL. And, you know, it doesn't matter that other people aren't doing this, and that most people aren't, and that people are just falling for this whole idea that they're trying to like do is like push everyone into this virtual thing, and this, you know, it's insane. You know, even in criticism of the medical profession, you know, and I've done it myself. I've had the video conferences with my doctor for my annual appointment in January. But the point is, it's not the same. I mean, you know, what happened to them? There's no stethoscope, you know, nobody's looking in your ear, checking, giving you checking you out, even just seeing your appearance, you know, weighing you in. You know what I mean? All of that sort of stuff. So it's kind of, this just isn't going to work. It's not working. But it is working. It's working for them. It's working for the corporatocracy, but it's just no way to live in an imitation of life and call it like IRL because you can see someone in a video on a screen. It's crazy. If you think about it. It's really crazy. Now, some of us who are a little bit older and who spent the better part of their lives living, in the real world, intensely, traveling, surrounded by people a lot, going places, hanging out in, social gathering areas, what be they bars or parties or, community involvement in things, the workplace, whatever, wherever. But for people who have only experienced those things for several years or in short little spurts here and there, the loss of those maybe isn't, as time passes by, does not seem to be that substantial in their life. And they're finding happiness through this, in this artificial world. And they're making, it's like I call the YouTube millionaires, they're making money and they're living well and they're doing this. But what happens when the power grid goes down, right? And you've made, hundreds of thousands of dollars and you built yourself this studio in some compound somewhere. And now now you're just there. Now think about that. You're just there. And that's no way to live. Like I said, this is one portion of my life. That's why I do it. It's 5:41 a.m. I go to bed early and I get up early. And then I have my whole day ahead of me when this show's over to live in the real world, the real world. That's why I don't want to be chained down to, you know, editing shows and producing. That's why I just do it live, and this is flow of consciousness. I have a concept, I have a show idea, like I said, and I did spend a few moments on this title card creating this graphic and coming up with the idea about when the music stops is, how did I word it? When the music stops, will you have a chair? And the music is winding down pretty fast, I put in the chat, because it is. All our times have come. It's like a line from, the heck was the name of that band? Wasn't REO Speedwagon. All our times have come. I don't know. It was that era, from that era. It's actually tasting better. I guess my taste buds are adjusting to the chocolate so that, I'm just looking to see. And so it's kind of tasting chocolatey. So I don't know. Maybe it's blending better with the coffee or something. So, like without being critical of it, how do we move forward? How do we find happiness? How do we change this, or steer, change course, or steer this boat, whatever we're on, into, the real world? How do we do that? Is it possible even? Like I've said several shows ago, more than several shows ago, a while back, about how the disappearance of social clubs in so many areas around the country. Like you used to be able to go to a town and there'd always be these social clubs. And it didn't matter, they were like, it could be the, a certain angle with these headphones and the way this hat is, it could look like a real hillbilly too. It could also, at another way, you could turn it into almost a cowboy hat. And it's interesting. These are great hats. I recommend you get it. ROCKFLUX brand on it. It's kind of cool. But it's better without the headphones underneath it, trust me. But I can need them. They used to have these social clubs and everything from, and they still have them in many areas, but most areas don't, because they didn't have enough members to sustain them, because they were buildings. They had, usually had a bar in them, or they needed to have revenue to maintain the property, et cetera, et cetera. The cost of any building is, you have the base cost there, and there's got to be somebody who's present. Place has to be cleaned and all that kind of stuff. Just the basics alone. And these social clubs kind of died out. And so, you still have in a lot of areas, VFWs, American Legions, but you used to have things like Knights of Columbus, Sons of Italy, all of these sorts of places, different various ethnic, basically different countries, people of similar countries of origin, religions, military service, trades, even the Masonic lodges, without getting into that, someone wants to go down some rabbit hole on that. But I mean, from straight ahead people who are basically in the tradesmen and who would be in a Masonic lodge. But the idea that these places usually had regular, Catholic war veterans. They had I remember in the town I was at. I mean, there were so many social clubs, that just anything you could find. AmVets, right? I'm just thinking of all these things. And you could always find a social club, and there was always something going. And on a Saturday night, it was a place to go, and they were having some kind of event. And they would have a band. People would have their wedding receptions there. And on a regular night, a lot of these places had at least had a bar, and you could go in there and you can have a couple of cheap beers or something. Or you could go and have meetings there, or they'd have bingos or some kind of event. And people say, well, who wants to play bingo? That's for old people. Well, I'm giving you that as an example. All right. You could have had a Saturday night. You could have had a hip hop band there if you wanted to, if they still existed. They don't exist. All right. But anyway, or people had meetings. You could just go there and sit at a round table and have some kind of group meeting about something, because it was your club. You were a member of the club, so you had the right to go into that club and do something. So you can go in and you say, hey, let's all meet over at the such and such, and we'll plan our, baby shower. Or our trip to Mexico. Whatever the case may be, you got together in real life with people. And I was a member. I used to go to a VFW before I moved to this area. On Tuesday nights, we used to play darts. We had a dart league there. And we used to, do a lot of drinking. I mean, we used to, darts is a game. It's kind of like horseshoes. Some people say about horseshoes, but I'm not a big horseshoe player. I've played horseshoes. But I mean, darts is one of those games that the more beer you have, it seems the better your shot was. As far as, and I was a good dart player, and I'm getting a spin. This stream will end shortly. Let's hope it doesn't. If it does, I may have froze up or something may have cut out. They're playing games with me. Yes, I did freeze up. This is just a guy telling a story. Why would they do this to me? I can see on the other side that my internet connection is strong. So there's no reason for this to happen. Well, anyway, we used to play dart. This stream will end shortly unless you do, as if I can do something. It's 5:50 a.m. in the morning. There's nobody using the internet in this house. I've got nothing going on. Now it says I have an excellent connection, but I really don't because it's showing my kilobytes per second are way down the bottom. And I'm looking at a frozen face. That's what I'm saying. When the music stops, that's what's going on. When the music stops, will you have a chair? All right. If you stayed with me, I don't know what might have cut out. I noticed lately they've been cutting. When that happens, they just cut out a section instead of freezing me up. Seem to be temporarily back into broadcast mode. So I'll continue with the story. It's not fun. Do you see what I mean? The internet is not fun, and it's not real life. And if you were over my house and I was telling you this story about the VFW and Dart Night, do you see what I mean? We wouldn't have had to have gone through that weird interlude of, bizarro world. YouTube. So anyway, it was fun, and it was a bunch of people. The club was crowded on Tuesday nights. We all had our leagues. There was 4 guys to a team. and some women. And, and we just played and, drank pitchers. I guess each team had a pitcher, I think. And we would shoot darts, and then we would have a tournament at the end of, whatever. I forget how long our season kind of went. And, and that was that. And there used to be other events, obviously, and things, but it was a social club, and it was something to do on a Tuesday night, and we all got together, and they were my dart buddies, right? And they weren't necessarily people I hung out with on a regular basis. So that was like just one aspect. It's saying no data right now, which makes no sense. So, and I don't mean to give you these to keep talking technical to you, but I mean, I can't help but like see these things going on. This, like, it's not stable. The instability is just outrageous for the power of this computer and the amount of money I spend on internet. And the signal, the strength of the signal that I have, right? Some car pulling up in the front. Maybe that's the person that's doing it, right? Somebody doesn't want to hear the VFW story. They turned around. What are they doing over there? So anyway, so you would have like, you might be a member of a social club, people a member of a church, and they would have a church group. And, some of those people, there might be people there that you would just see when you would go to that church or community center group. Other people, you had your work, you work, so you had your work friends and the people you kind of hung out with at work. I used to smoke cigarettes, so it used to be, we used to get at 10 a.m. there was a smoke break, and 2 in the afternoon there was a smoke break, and of course you had a lunch break. And so, there would be my smoking buddies, so we'd be out on the dock. I remember I was working at a printing company, and there was like a loading dock, and that's where we used to smoke. Anyway, this is all IRL. And if I seem a little bit distracted, it's because of the technology. And that's what I'm saying. In real life, you're not distracted unless something weird happens, like an asteroid's coming down, right? Or somebody hits a telephone pole while you're standing on a street corner. You don't have to look to see if your kilobytes per second are, or your signal, your stream is healthy. So that's what I'm saying. When the music stops, will you have a chair? And what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? This car just keeps turning around. You see it. There it is. What is that car doing? In the middle of a street. You're lucky a coal truck's not coming up. It's really weird. And I got that going on too. Wondering what's happening with that. Oh boy. So in any event, how, have we gleaned anything from any of this yet? And
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
And the answer is probably no, because of, I've got thrown off kilter there. But what I'm trying to get at, just to get back into it, is how to, in a society that's where we have less opportunities to get together. Now, for some people, they say, well, you're crazy. Well, we have a community center. We have our big, church. We have our such and such. Yeah, lucky you, whoever you are, wherever you are, and all that kind of stuff. But the point of the matter is, I was trying to describe options and different groups of people and groups of people for different things. And so the idea of having, my dart league, my co-workers, my other, some guys, I was always into music, so I used to go to some, hang out with some people in band, and so go to some bars where the band would play. I'd sit in, sometimes get on stage and play guitar with some bands. Yeah, so I had all these different social groups, and so life was diverse. And then, of course, you had family, and that kind of thing, and any other kind of community that was out there. Well, now you're lucky if you have one community. And that's the thing, is that's not necessarily what I'm getting at, because it doesn't give you the options and diversity in life to really experience life to the fullest and really find happiness and meet people and have conversations that aren't, just the same old thing, week after week. Which usually, if you just have one community, one outlet, when you get out of the house, you go to one community thing. It's usually the same old thing, over and over and over again. You know what I'm talking about too, right? It's not like, and so diversity of social interaction is key, and having different, and being able to, jump around from different groups when we were living a more social life, not this imitation of life. We were mentally more fit. We were physically more fit because we're constantly doing things. And, I just think life was just much better, in general. And we, amid while all this was happening, like while I was in this dart league, which was about 20 years ago or so, I was at the height of, that was the height of the .com. That was right after the, computing was happening and all this stuff was happening. I was heavy into computers and all this kind of stuff. And using them and spending time with them. So they were a part of my life as well. Now I got chocolate and coffee on my mustache. So that's what I'm trying to talk about. And I know this is a little bit slow moving show, and every now and then I have one of these that's just a little bit slow moving. I don't mean it to be that way. It's not action packed, filled with all kinds of crazy, zany stuff. But, and I guess, so if you don't like it,
go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
I don't really mean that. But, yeah. So, or is this the society that we're just living in? You know what I mean? Are we stuck this way? I'm going to adjust this camera. Sorry, guys. Cat. I wanted to show you this other apartment building, a nice one that's over there. But now everything is like crooked. Might as well look at my keyboard. And for those of there's my coffee thing, and there's my thing that keeps my coffee mug warm. I'm trying to fix the legs on this thing, and this is the sound effects computer and my various mice to control those. There we go. It's a little crooked. I don't know why these wires are doing this. There we go. We'll just stick with that for now. How's that sound? Sorry about that. This is just you. This is not real life. This is you coming into somebody's house through a video and them trying to get their act together, and it's not exactly working out the way it should. But anyway, I don't know if we're ever going to get back to that. You know? It seems the economy is like they're hell-bent on destroying the U.S. economy. I was seeing something about savings bond. The interest on savings bond, like if you're shrewd, and I don't know, I'm not giving investment advice, but I caught like a couple of different people talking about the current savings bond thing. There's a fixed rate, and then there's something that's adjusted for inflation. And this is something you may want to look into if you're like looking to park some money. I think you can only do $10,000 per Social Security number. But, you know, if there's two of you, but you can get almost 10, there's a good possibility that you might be able to get as much as 10% interest this year. That means if you had 10 grand sitting somewhere and you parked it into a savings bond and cashed it in, there is a penalty, but the interest is given every 6 months. So you would lose 3 months of the interest, but if you were getting 10%, you know, or 9.67 or whatever, some crazy thing like that, plus a percentage of the other months, the 3 months that you lose 3, but you would still have 3 of the other. You could be looking at, if you put $10,000 in 1 year, you'd make $1,000 interest. And that's supposedly, because it's a U.S. savings bond, it's like local, state, and federal tax free, I believe. Check into that. I'm not sure about it if you have 10 grand. It's a lot better than a Christmas club. I mean, you cash it in at the end of the year and you get you made $1,000, right? And you still have your original 10 grand. Now, but, you know, that's risky. I think this year we're going to get through this year because it's an election year, even though the GDP's down, the stock market's people are starting to realize things are screwed up. That's why I've been so kind of crazy about getting my garden together and really upset about this rodent problem, which I never had before, because I just don't want that rodent ruining my garden, my food, because it could well be my food supply. You know, everybody's talking about these food shortage. You see, another volcano just went off too, and I was talking about that yesterday. And last night, you know, Mount Etna or something over in Europe, you know, just had some big eruption, or in some other place. So this is all happening because things are based on the sun. They're not based on CO2 or any of that nonsense that they're trying to feed you through the media. Those things they're just trying to use to get you to, so they could buy your house and foreclose on it, get you to go, so-called go green, right? It's all a scam. It's a scam. But the reality is there are earth changes going on, but they're like, CO2 does not make volcanoes go off or earthquakes, right? Doesn't cause the South Atlantic anomaly magnetic field. You see what I mean? There's nothing to do with that. It's a trace gas. It's like below the 99.9% of the atmosphere is not CO2. Okay? So it's not responsible for these, these major things that are occurring on the planet and on the other planets. See, that's what I wish the people would, it's so easy for some people argue this back and forth like idiots on social media. But what the people should be who are in, if you're in, I'm not into arguing it, right? Because I just know it, and I never argue with somebody who doesn't want to, who's an ideologue, because you're not going to change their opinion, all right? So you're just wasting your time, and half the time on social media you're arguing with a bot anyway. But I wish the people who were involved in these so-called arguments or discussions, at least, would point out that there are these anomalies, magnetic anomalies, polar anomalies, different shifts in weather patterns occurring on like the gas giants and other planets in our solar system, which only points to one thing, that it is basically the sun and the cycles of the sun that are not, it's not just happening here on Earth, it's happening on the other planets. So end of story, I rest my case, so to speak. But see, people aren't that, like I say, the news readers don't know what they're talking about. They just, well, the UN IPCC, here's their report. They should know better. Some professor from MIT said it's real. Right? Bill Gates said it's real, even though he never went to college, which is the truth. Has no degree in anything. He's not a doctor or anything. It's funny, they talk about food shortages, and he happens to be the single biggest individual owner of farmland. Like, he bought up all this farmland. Like what? So strange things are happening. So I don't know if we're, from a social standpoint, we're ever going to get that back. Because, see, that's the thing. I don't think and I mean they, the powers that be, right? The corporatocracy, the ruling elite, all right? The people that make money on war, the people that make money on, pharmaceuticals, the people that make money, big tech. The people make money, big ag, that, holding things back from us, right? Instead of, like I said before, instead of big tech using its technology to create a sick bay like in Star Trek, right? Like I always say, never let a good Star Trek reference go to waste. Excuse me. Hey, Scotty. Get Bones on the line. But anyway, instead of them creating sick bay, we're still, our technology's not being used. We still have primitive technology mainly. I mean, it's advanced considerably since the 80s. But it hasn't advanced at the rate of the way chips are advancing, or the things, the apps and the things they're putting in smartphones. So I was trying to explain once before. There's too much money being thrown into things that don't improve the quality of life for the average human being. And the average human being, when I say quality of life, that's happiness. Right? Quality of life. How's your quality of life? Are you happy? Right? Are you healthy? Are you happy? And we're not putting money into that. Putting money into entertainment, and devices and diversions and smartphones and apps and wars, I mean, that's ridiculous. They're trillions of dollars they're putting into this Ukraine thing. It's nuts. It literally is insanity. When people are just like, picking sides,
This is insane.
and thinking, oh, okay, great. Yeah, Russia, we got to get rid of. It's like quality of life for people. 40,000 Americans are dying every week that don't need to die, right? That's according to the CDC statistics of the leading causes of death. If you average it out weekly, 40,000 people. What are they dying of? Things that are basically preventable, right? Like I say, I talk about this all the time. The murder rate, on average, a couple thousand people a week are murdered, most of which go unsolved. The crime rate is through the roof. You don't even want to know those numbers. I can hear the cat, I think. He came downstairs, scratching, clawing on something. If he wants to jump up here, that's going to be a problem because I got so much stuff up here because he hasn't been doing it. My desk is filled with paperwork. So quality of life, that is happiness. And I don't really see our focus on that. And why aren't we focused on that? Because people are diverted by entertainment. Netflix was going down. So now I see they pulled out all the stops. And so they're making May's going to be one of their big months. So they'll bounce back. Because they decided that their so-called woke programming had turned off so many millions of people, had left it, that now they've come back, with regular programming again. So that people will sign up, right, for the month. And they'll probably have a banner month. I'm not going to sign up, but I might sign up at the end of the month because I think Stranger Things, they're doing that in portions. But that's not till the 27th of May or something, towards the end of May or something. I think Stranger Things comes back. So I may sign up if they give me some cheap. Sometimes they send these emails out. Come back and we'll let you have it for just $7.99 or something. But while they do have a lot of movies that I noticed that they were adding to it, that were somewhat normal, so to speak, they still weren't movies that were going to make me want to instantly jump and subscribe. But I had been watching that Stranger Things series over the years, but they took 2 years off. Those people are older now. They were kids when it started out, so it's it's going to be interesting to see where they take this thing and what those people even look like, But yeah, it's a diversion. And entertainment has always been a diversion, and there's always been entertainment, and that's cool, and that's part of life, and it does make life fun to go see a movie, to watch a TV show, and to do a thing. But you can't have entertainment, and like I always say, politics has become the new pop culture, be the center of your life. That's not what it should be. Health and happiness, this is the year 2022. We should have it. In other words, if we've adopted, and I've said this before too, if the iMac is basically, we've adopted the computer that Picard used in his Ready Room. All right. Apple Computer basically created that. Stole it from, I guess, the art director crew, that back in the late 90s and stuff, if you look at this, the communicator, the Star Trek communicator is basically the BlackBerry, which was, beat before the iPhone, pretty much was a copy of this. All right. So if we were able to adopt many of these Star Trek technologies, all right, and make them in real life, but we didn't really look at sick bay, did we? Right? No. And, they're starting to talk about these things, but it's still too invasive. Medicine is still too invasive and too damaging. There's too much use of radiation, X-rays, and CT scans that basically are cancer-causing in and upon themselves, right? Cutting people open, even though they use robotics now in many cases. They still have, their backup is if it doesn't work or their robot, thing, because not every organ, it's not like you open up some kind of encyclopedia or something and look at the anatomy of the human body. Not everybody's innards look exactly the same. Stuff isn't positioned exactly where you would think it is. Talk to surgeons. So they go in there and they want to use a computer and do some kind of thing, or a robot, assisted surgery, laparoscopy, whatever the heck it is. And they find out, this thing's a little bit too close to the liver or whatever. We're going to have to open that, we're going to have to cut this person open and go in there and do it the old fashioned way, and then stitch them up or staple them up or something. So if we would put half of the effort that we put into war machines and to smartphones and apps and chip development into medicine, right? Imagine the health of people. And if we had, and if we would look and scrutinize organizations like the FDA and the CDC, all right, and not allow them to just rubber stamp and have this revolving door where somebody worked at a pharmaceutical company and now's working at the FDA and then works from the FDA and then gets a job at a pharmaceutical company, so they know the inner workings and how things get passed, and approved. Like I say, food and drugs, so that you're not eating a cereal doesn't say organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, all natural. But when you read the ingredients, all natural could mean high fructose corn syrup, right? Mono such and such glutination, added sugars, high carbs. Do you see what I mean? All kinds of saturated fats and weird things. Of course they're natural, but they're no good for you, right? But on the front of the box, and the print is so small, anybody over the age of 40 needs reading glasses. I've got, these are reading glasses. I don't walk around. I'd say this all the time. I don't walk around with glasses during the daytime. I only have these on because I got to read all this small stuff, right? Oh, no. I couldn't see that. I mean, I'd be straining my eyes and end up getting a headache. So it's like, so who's reading the boxes? Half the time I go to the store, I got to remember I got to take the reading glasses with me. And I forget. And then I want to buy something, but then I'm afraid to buy it because I want to read the label. And you say, well, that's being a little bit paranoid. It's like, no, it's not, man. Not when they're threatening that, they want to give you a gallbladder operation and you've already had like a kidney operation and you've had cancer before that and had a radical prostatectomy. Yeah, that's right. I'm justified in talking about this stuff. I've been through the ringer. I've and it's like, no, I eat healthy. And I want to eat healthy, and so, because that's part of quality of life is health and happiness. That's what this is all about. And, like I say, the powers that be don't care about our health and happiness in real life. And so they want us to put on some kind of bodysuit and live in the metaverse, or they consider this, it's like, like I said, this is not me in real life. This is me wearing a ROCKFLUX hat coming to you over a video with a set behind me. Right? If I wasn't doing this video, I probably wouldn't have a copy of my book Codex leaning there, an old radio, this phone, here, my book posted on like some kind of thing and on air. You see what I mean? This isn't real life. This is showbiz. Right? You watch a Joe Rogan show on Spotify, he's got a neon sign behind him now and a set. It's showbiz. With that Tim Pool in IRL, in real life. It's not in real life. It's a set. It's a bunch of guys sitting on very expensive shirts with like, or very expensive chairs, unlike my chair, which is falling apart. With decent cameras and stuff like that. You wonder why my room's so dark is because I don't have one of those big round white, light cameras or lighting systems or a camera. I'm using the camera that's on my monitor. It's crappy. And I notice in the playback, things are grainy. There's no reason that it is other than it's a crappy camera because the camera's like 10 years old. It's a 2012. Yeah, it's 10 years old. This is a 2012 monitor. Still show, video to me right now, it looks crystal clear. It's great. It's a nice big monitor too. It's like a 27-inch monitor or something like that. But the camera's 10 years old. It's 10-year-old technology. And that camera that you're looking out the window is a USB camera I picked up for like $29.95. It's no better. And I'm not about to go out and buy the newest Mac, spend $5,000 getting the Studio Mac and their new monitor with their new camera that's like whatever, Super HD 4K or whatever. Right? Because that's the game they're playing. And that's where the focus is. And that's what I'm trying to say. So health and happiness in real life is not happening. We've sacrificed that for the sake of having Zoom meetings, video conferences and Hulu and Roku boxes and all that kind of stuff. It's sad. It really is when you think about it. So I don't know if I really don't. I can't even say I don't know. I'm pretty darn sure that it's not going to get any better from this point on. I think we're just heading. I think we are heading down that dystopian path. And I know people say, people who are into positive thinking and say, well, if you think negatively, if enough people think negatively, they'll bring on negative things. And I think there's something to that whole vibe, good vibrations idea. When I go to sleep every night, I always think, as I, close my eyes, I'm always like contemplating, like, be calm, happiness, health, that kind of stuff, meditative, good thoughts, that type of stuff. And I try to, even when I'm out in the yard, I try to be peaceful and live a good life and think happy thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But when I'm doing these shows and talking to people for things that, may or may not get a wider audience at some point as I try to move this body of work. I'm trying to expand it to more and more platforms to find a larger audience. That I have to basically, I've got to speak the truth to power, the truth about what's going on around us, because some people just are so caught up with watching television or watching these people on the internet or listening to tweets, posts, or these various short videos and TikToks and all these other things. I mean, I can't even keep up with all this stuff. And I don't want to, because like I said, I don't want to spend my entire day in a fake world. Right? An imitation of life. And I don't know if you really can understand that, but it's like I was watching, there's this couple. It's called Truth Stream Media. And they put out a lot of videos, and their stuff, they're very, they're right on target. The Dykes, I think that's their last name, Dykes. Okay. I forget the name of the individuals. It's a girl and a guy, a husband and wife. Okay. And they basically, they put out some really cool videos. They're long form videos, and they tell it like it is. And it's, but it's over the head of most people. Fortunately, they're lucky enough that at least they get a decent audience, But the idea is that not enough people are listening to people like that. Nobody's listening. I mean, they got me totally, completely blocked. But they had a video out. The reason I wanted to bring them up is they had a video out the other day where they were talking about rents, all right, and how the rents are going up. And I spoke yesterday about how that they were using green, making you lease this green system was a way for them to foreclose on your house. And then I saw a thing in California where they're extending like free rent, like a rent moratorium for another year or so. Like the Supreme Court decided they weren't even going to look at the case. So these landlords, people are living in LA, they haven't paid rent in like a couple of years. Must be nice, right? Now, for me, like I say, my mortgages, taxes, and insurance are only $200 a month. And I know that the True Stream Media people aren't watching this, but, you ought to move to this neighborhood. It's not that bad. And that house across the street, if you're still renting and you guys don't have enough money to buy, that house is going to be up for, that's going to be up for rent. And the building next to it, that brick building on the other side I showed you earlier, you could probably get that for around $400 a month. And it's not likely that the prices are going to skyrocket in this neighborhood. And you got a grocery store and a convenience store and a pizza shop and a restaurant and a couple of bars. And, you got everything else here. And it's the outskirts of town, but if you got a car, you could have access to just about anything anybody else has for that's why I moved here. I bought. And I got cheap. I got in cheap while the getting was good. And I got it's a fixed mortgage, so they can't raise it on me. So, but people are talking about that. Rent increases 17%, 35%, 50%, right? And then they're trying to do this green thing where they're trying to turn neighborhoods into green neighborhoods and saying, well, here, we'll lease you. If you get rid of all your stuff, we'll, pay us. But they don't tell you in the small print. It's like the Tom Waits line, the large print print giveth and the small print taketh away. Right? That if you default on a lease payment or something like that, they can foreclose on your property, which is really the goal. And that putting solar panels on a house, that people want to live in as their homestead, so to speak. When I mean homestead, I mean it's like their house, where their family grows up in, to live in a house 35, 40 years plus. Well, that's, the life expectancy of a lot of these solar panels and stuff isn't even, you're lucky if you get 20 years. It's like a roof. You get like 20 years out of a roof. So the offer they're making people is an unrealistic offer, and nobody in the news media has been questioning that, saying, well, halfway through this, that stuff's all going to fall apart. It may fall apart 10 years into it. The technologies could break down. Right? So we're entering a really crazy time. I mean, we've already entered it. I mean, we've got this guy in charge of the country who's like, doesn't know what he's doing, and whoever's pulling his strings, I mean, it's like, it's so funny that I came up with this graphic, this meme, whatever you want to call it, so long ago. And I've been showing it, I was showing it practically every day there for a while. But it's like, it's so true. It's so true. And it's the same with this one here, where I was saying it's all hypocrisy for profit. And it's not like I just came up with this. Like, these things, I've been like doing these these are old. But, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 views, right? Impossible. 2 billion active users on YouTube. And I get, there's a couple videos I have in the past couple weeks, 1 view. And it was me. I think it was me. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was just me. Because that's how the system works. Like if I log on if I'm not logged on to this particular account, I usually open another browser to share. Not intentionally, like I'm trying to. I don't want to, it's just that it's easy for me to do that from that other browser. And I think so, since that I'm not logged in, I'm just going and I share it to put it on, put a link of it on Twitter, or a link on Minds, a link on Getter, a link on Podcast Index, think places like that, move the thing around, and I'm on Rumble, and hopefully I'm on this Odyssey soon. That it counts it as a view. And so there's like a couple of my videos that have 1 view, and I think that 1 view is me. Now, how is it possible to do a live video that lasts almost 2 hours long sometimes, and YouTube actually has a live list, like what's live now, 2 billion active users, and not one curiosity seeker, right? That doesn't make sense. You mean there's not one person out there that like looks at this girl and goes, I wonder what that's about. Someone maybe even looking at it, health and happiness. Some girl thinking about maybe it's beauty tips or something. Who knows what? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I have such a diversity of title cards, right? That it just defies the law of probability and statistics. It's what I was trying to tell these people at Odyssey too. I said you can't have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 views, right? When you have when you have billion plus active users at any given time, right? It's just not how it works. Talk to somebody who deals with probability and statistics. The odds are. In other words, I explained this. If you look at the odds of winning a rub-off lottery ticket, okay? I think it's 1 in like 100 million, or there's some weird like that. Okay? It's not 1 in a billion. Okay? So the point of the matter is you have better odds. The odds are more of winning the lottery than, it's more likely that somebody's going to win the lottery than like click on my show. It's like, no, there should be a minimum of like, I don't know. It would seem to me anywhere from a minimum of 10, there should be 10 curiosity seekers to like at least 100. And some of my other shows, some of the ones that were like active and crazy and zany and stuff should have had at least like 1,000 views because they would have held people and stuff, But see, they've got this thing down. I'm sorry for using the classic white handkerchief, but they've got this down to the idea is they want to keep that 0 up there because people go, oh, 0 people watching, that mustn't be worth anything. That's if it's even visible in the live view. Remember I talked about yesterday, it's like how they make something, I'm trying to adjust this because I don't have a chair like these YouTube millionaires. I've got a chair I've had for 20 some years, my old office chair. It's like when they have trending or what's popular. I talked about that yesterday. That people want to do what everybody else is doing, right? I mean, this goes back to the beginning. People figured this out. The psychologists who got involved in the advertising and the PR business and which is basically nothing more than the propaganda business too. And the idea is quite simple. People want to do what everybody's doing. If there's a line somewhere in front of some ice cream store, they go, that must be good ice cream. Let's go there. And then there's this other ice cream store across the street, that makes their own. They've got a creamery in the back. It's all natural and it's the best tasting stuff, but nobody knows it because they don't have money to advertise it or something like that. And nobody's going there. Right? Just the way it is, It's like when Starbucks came out, they really pushed their whole thing. And, some of their stuff, it was flavored and they put all this stuff in there and blah, blah, blah. But there were still a lot of people that, and you could still see it. It says donut shop coffee you can buy at the store and stuff. Because there was still something about these, over the years of these donut shops perfecting this coffee, that there were still these people that just preferred what they called donut shop coffee because it was really good if they were a coffee connoisseur and they didn't necessarily care about having something that got all kinds of, syrups and, and different things thrown in it, And you didn't have to pay, 3 or 4 times the price, for a cup of it. But people want what's popular. They go, if everybody, if you create something as it's popular, then everyone wants to follow the leader. I mean, that's where that phrase comes from. Follow the leader, People, that's it. And that's the cult of personality. And that's what politics is. And that's what's going on right now. And it seems to have come to the fore of everything. And so we're being manipulated at every step of the way. And the focus on health and happiness has taken a back seat to just the corporatocracy and the profit of these corporations. And you say, well, that sounds like you're some kind of socialist or something. No, I'm a free market capitalist. I believe in freedom, to the max. All right. I believe I've been a self-made man. I've had run my own businesses. I've worked for people, but I've also run my own businesses. When you balance it out in the grand scheme of things, I think I spent more years running my own businesses than I did working for others, or it was almost like half and half, something like that. No, I'm all for, excuse me, free market capitalism, excuse me. But not corporate abuse, crony capitalism, and just outright theft. And then this idea of ignoring health and happiness for the sake of profit. That's immoral. It's unethical, right? It's the same with like pharmaceutical companies. They have doctors working for them. That's the thing that gets me. And they take this hypocritical oath, right? Hypocrite, right? Hippocratic oath. And the idea is that they will do no harm is basically what they're supposed to. But I'm not going to get into it because, the way these algorithms work. But the fact of the matter is, it's the same with the FDA. There's people that are actually medical doctors working there. And they took an oath to do no harm. But, they don't care how much carbs and added sugars and high fructose corn syrup or whatever other additives are in whatever. They don't care. Right? But they're definitely doing harm because 40,000 people a week are dying of like type 2 diabetes and obesity and kidney problems and heart-related things that are all called dietary for the most part, right? Dietary lifestyle, right? Destroying people's health and happiness, and that's just one area, So you got to look out for yourself. So really, if you want, if you really want to have health and happiness in real life, you have to think about growing your own food or getting a sense of community, getting back to people, human beings, forget the IRL, imitation of life, right? Because that IRL should stand for like imitation real world, right? Or something. It's not in real life. Imitation real life is what it is. You got to get back into real life, real people, eat real food. Otherwise, man, I don't know. So this show's been all over the place. And I guess earlier on when they were trying to like take me down, but I just kept going at it, kind of like took the wind out of my sails, and I kind of lost some of the ideas I had, where I wanted to go with it. I apologize for that. It's almost a wasted show in that regard. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it and putting up with me. But I probably won't post this show necessarily. I don't know. Maybe I'll put the link on Twitter just because I do that. Since I talked about that Odyssey in the beginning, in case one of those people watches it, maybe they'll get the idea that, But yeah.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Well, you have been listening to Tony Caravan Live. But
Good morning.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just say goodbye there. Don't forget I have the clothing line, and that Be Nice shirt sure looks nice, and Game Over hoodie, and you don't know what you don't know. I don't know if the hat I was wearing is for sale, and all that stuff. There's links to it at ROCKFLUX.com or TonyCaravanLive.com. It's the same site, just a site with links. There's a link to Great Solar stuff there and links to my books. Like I said, and I say all the time, I'm not monetized. I don't own those companies. I'm just set up, like anybody else as a what they call an associate, or I get a commission and minor commission. It's like listen to my beat poetry. You listen to my songs on Spotify or Amazon or Apple, I'm lucky if I get a penny royalty. Sometimes it's a fraction of a cent. But, there's some good stuff out there, and I do it for you. I sit here every morning and do these shows for you to help you, so I hope they help. Anyway, like I say, today kind of, I don't know if today was that good a show or not. Maybe leave a comment, let me know if you thought it was okay. Otherwise, take care, and maybe tomorrow I'll be a little bit chipper. Cheers. Take care.